Welcome back to chilly Northwestern College, where we have a score of 21-13. Eagles are up, where Eagles are lining up for their first kickoff in the second half. Pete?
Well, it's just got to be more of the same stuff. Just keep wearing down the opposing defenses, and
there's low kick.
Squibber.
Only to about the 25, but Morris really pressing forward. They are getting some yards. They are past the 50, and we have 2 flags down on the play. Huge run there by the Cougars.
I want to say block in the back or a face mask on that. With your hands getting colder, it's going to be harder to tackle the opposing player.
Absolutely.
All these players' hands just must be raw right now.
Although they probably have some warmth after coming up back from the halftime break. Yeah, I really think today what really is going to make or break the team is which defense stops the other. That's really what we're looking at. Both offenses really developing. Bobby Miller, 3 touchdowns with 175 yards. For the Cougars, we have Donnie Green with 92 yards and a touchdown. Like I said, both very strong, very consistent offense.
Right. And the penalty was against the Eagles, so it just moves it further into Eagle territory. Not a good way to start off the second half.
We're looking at 1st and 10 on the 32. Ekron drops back, hands this one off to Green, and he's brought down at the 34. That looked like a loss for Cougars. Green, you know, he's really been a stellar performer today. That's one of the few stops that the Eagles have been able to make on them today.
And the last time they made a stop like that, they just tore right down the field for that touchdown in the last part of the second quarter.
Absolutely. Like I said, I bet that last Cougar touchdown really helped the morale for the Cougars. The coach is probably saying, you know what, guys, you are still in this game. Stick with it. And it still looks that way. Ekron drops back, lays this one up, but leaves it wide open for the Eagles offense, but that one just was not able to be caught by the secondary.
Tom Tadich had a gift right there. I mean, all he had to do was sit and wait, but it might just come back to that ball just being just really hard and just really tough to catch.
Tom Tadich, he's one of the smaller guys on the team, 5'8", 150 pounds. You know, maybe he just didn't have the height for that one. Looked like he had his hands on it, but doesn't look like it was in his comfortable catching zone. We're still looking at 3rd and 12 for the Cougars. Ekron drops back. Another throw. Again, this one to Brad Fox. Excuse me, that was Terrence McCray. That one would be a 1st down for the Cougars.
It's more of that just post in or a quick out or just a quick pass play, and that just picks up tons of yards today.
That's what I'm seeing, though. Short, direct passes are really starting to help. Let's take a look at that short pass. You know what Ekron's doing? See how low he's keeping that to the ground. The wind's not able to affect it that much. And Terrence McCray, again, able to work with it. This one handed off to Green again, but Green really starting to slow down. That one had a significant loss of about 4 to 5 yards.
It looks like he ran into his own lineman right there. That's a bad thing to be happening in this part of the game.
Cougars lineman looks to be the best defense the Eagles have so far. Cougars ready to hopefully make another touchdown play. We're looking at 2nd and 14 on the 21. A pitch back to Green. Green running with it, changes directions, and gets a couple yards on that one. You know, there's only so many times Green could zig and zag there.
Yeah, he just ran out of real estate. They're saying 4th down, but I believe it's 3rd, yes.
3rd and 14. 3rd and 12, excuse me. 3rd and 12 on the Eagles' 19. Cougars are 2 and 4 in their 3rd down conversions.
Playing 4 wide.
Ekron just taking his sweet time. runs out of room to run, and that was picked off. This one picked off by Josh Peterson. But there are flags down on the field. We'll see what these have to do with it. Huge pick by the Eagles, but we don't know if that one's going to pay off for them.
It's against.
That one would be against Morris. Tony's down there. Tony, what do you got for us down there, bud?
Pick one off from Morris here. As we're just a few minutes into the half, I just got done talking to center Brandon Johnson, who's just entered back onto the field. Here's the situation at the end of the half. Morris went in to prevent defense so that they couldn't really pass to go into the end zone. That's why we saw Yonan drop the ball. Now, the original half of it, they were in man-to-man, and that's what they expect to do now. And we should see Bobby Miller and the rest of the Eagles' offense start passing the ball again. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Tony. You know, I definitely agree with him there. What do you think about that, Pete?
Well, prevent defense is not the way to go, really, if you have a quarterback who can throw the long ball, because it's pretty much I believe it's a zone, and if your guy isn't covering that area, there's nothing he can do.
Absolutely. Definitely agree with you there. Gibbs had a quick short run to bring it 2nd and 6 on the Eagles' 20-yard line. Miller drops back, hands it off to Gibbs again, but Gibbs doesn't get that many yards again.
They're not giving up on Paul Gibbs, it seems to look like.
Gibbs had a fair amount of rushing yards. Eagles had 87 yards at the half, although 56 of those rushing yards were from Miller.
But they almost doubled the Cougars in passing yards, looking like 189 to 102 yards.
That's really the secret to this game. Miller is really starting to develop as the quarterback for the team.
Miller went 18 for 23. That's very impressive.
No interceptions for either team. This one, don't know what happened to Gibbs there, but he looked like he dropped that one. Couldn't have been the cold weather because it was just laid up there.
That's a blown opportunity on turnover there.
Could just be a lack of focus on that one. We're looking at 4th down. That's going to bring out the special teams.
I don't think they're going to go for it on this one.
Well, you never know. We'll see what happens, though. Definitely not. This one kicked off. Somewhat of a low kick. Does not get the bounce the Eagles want, but they get it to the Cougars' 46-yard line. Looks like that pick the Eagles had didn't really pay off that time.
It almost looked like he punted it right on the laces, and that's not where you want to punt the ball. You want to punt it under the laces on the other opposite side. So that might add something to do with the kind of poor punt by them.
Eagles football might want to start recruiting from the Eagles soccer team. Morris lining up at their own 46-yard line. Ekron drops back. Another handoff to Green. Green stuffed again. Now, do you see what we're looking at, Pete? Ekron, first half, didn't get to develop at all. Now, Eagles can start to focus on the rushing game and start to stop both sides.
Because if you do that, then, Rice, we're going to look at a replay, actually.
Again, it almost looks like the Eagles were just ready to pounce on that one.
That almost might have been a linebacker blitz by Aaron Pennington right there. Like I said earlier, I think that's one of the things the Eagles needed to do to stop this running game, was just throw a couple linebackers in there.
Absolutely. This one, a quick screen to Garrett Bohannon for a couple yards, but not quite what the Cougars need. Cougars really need to start off something. Both the rushing and the passing not looking so hot in the second half. Looking at a little over 10 minutes with the score 21-13, Eagles in the lead.
And that interception looked to take a little bit of wind out of their sails. 5 wide. I'm guessing they're going to pass.
Or maybe not. Oh, Ekron throws that one away, incomplete, bringing up fourth down, excuse me.
Great penetration by the Eagles line. That's one thing that's been consistent all year is the Eagles' defensive line has been fairly good at penetrating the offensive line to get sacks and stuffs for a loss.
And definitely not a smart move to not have Green in the backfield there. That just totally let the Eagles know what was going to happen. And it looks like brings out the special teams. And the kick is away. Another squib. And he looks like Stephen Bogus didn't want to touch that one.
Well, going back to the condition of the ball, it's hard, it's tough to catch, and if you don't catch it on a punt, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, I see what you're coming from. Sometimes it's just better to let the ball roll a couple yards than to give it up for a fumble. That would really not help the Eagles. Eagles do not have that great of field position right now. We're looking at their own 11-yard line. But then again, if Miller can stick with his just his solid passing game, then I think we're really going to, they may make their way downfield. We'll see what happens.
Something's wrong with the referees down there. They're taking their sweet time.
Don't know exactly what's going down. Apparently we're having a fan in the stands blowing a whistle.
That's home field advantage for you.
I guess even shenanigans come from Christian schools after all.
Yeah, a little mischief.
Miller drops back. Hand off to Gibbs. Gibbs showing his speed off. Gillens, he's at the 30 and he gets down at the 36. Huge carry, a 24-yard carry for Gibbs.
Just negates that bad field position. And
that's brought out the skill of Gibbs right there, and his skill right there is speed. And he used a couple stiff arms, and that really helped bringing it downfield. Huge carry by Gibbs. Huge.
That's what he's supposed to look at, his progression in the Eagles from the 36.
Miller drops back again. Another quick pass, this time to Josh Lundeen again. Brought down at their own 43-yard line. Looks like we have another report from Tony down at the sidelines. Tony, what do you got for us, bud?
Here's the situation from the sidelines. We just had a referee timeout, and basically what the whole issue was is somebody in the fans actually has a whistle, and they're blowing it and messing up the game on the sideline, so the refs are trying to blow the play dead or to get the game started back again, and somebody else is blowing it into the sideline. So we just had that little problem. That's the report from the sideline. Back to you guys. Hey, let me out.
Thanks, Tony. Quick run by Gibbs to bring it another first down for the Northwestern Eagles.
Gibbs is looking like the Paul Gibbs of old, just big runs, just power and speed.
Absolutely. You know, we looked at Kelly Johnson being the Eagles starter, but I guess one look at Gibbs, and I guess that's all it took for the Eagles to put him in. Miller drops back. Another quick toss, this time to Davey Nitch for a quick 2 yards. But again, that's sometimes all it takes. Miller doing a really good job of those short gains, not really being stopped. Miller's been doing a really good, consistent job out there today.
Yeah, it just keeps the defense on their toes. Even short passes are good because it makes everybody come in, and if he fakes it that way, he can maybe loosen up a receiver deeper downfield.
Absolutely. Keeps the clock running. Looking in the third quarter, a little over 8 minutes to go. Miller scrambling. This time a throw to Justin Jeppesen, and he did pull it in for the Cougars' 37-yard line for a quick first down.
It's one of them rules in college football as opposed to the NFL. One, you don't have the 2-minute warning, as you mentioned earlier. And second, you only need to get 1 foot inbounds. And, yeah, in NFL, it's 2 feet or another body part such as a knee, like they say, a knee is as good as 2 feet, but in college it's just 1 foot.
Absolutely. Anything really in college. All you got to do is put one part in. And Justin Jefferson does exactly that. Miller drops back. This one hands off to Gibbs. Gibbs finds the holes for another Eagles first down. This one brought to the Cougars about 26-yard line. Gibbs really bringing that speed out there. Let's take another look at that Gibbs run. Gibbs, just look at this, finds his holes, zigs and zags when he needs to, and gets the needed yardage for the Eagles.
And he falls forward, too. That's another thing you want to do as a running back.
Absolutely. Definitely a good point there. Sometimes that falling forward, that's all it takes. That could be the difference between a first and a fourth down. This one handed off again to Stephen Bogus. We've seen him off and on the offense. He gets his couple yards here and there. This time looks like he gets 2nd and 10 we're looking at right now. Let's take another look at that.
About 2nd and 6.
2nd and 6, excuse me. You know, I haven't really seen him on the offense that much, but he's getting the job done. He's just getting those steady, short little gains.
Well, if it takes 3 guys to take him down, you might as well go back to him.
Miller takes it back. That one open to Davey Nitch, but it looked like he had a hand in there. I'm looking for a flag, but I'm not seeing one.
28 or 26, excuse me, had a hand around him, and not quite sure why that wasn't called either holding or pass interference.
Both players just all over each other. And it looks like we're going to get another look at that. As you can see, Miller just lets it unload.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's a tough call. To me, it looked like the Cougars were all over him. I would have thrown the flag, but that's why I'm not a referee. Miller again throws. This time, perfect throw. This time to Stephen Redlin, excuse me. Huge gain for the Eagles.
These 10-yard passes aren't hard to make, and they're effective.
Very huge. Miller just really doing a great job with those short, consistent passes.
And it's looking to look like the Cougars have no idea what's coming their way. They just look like they're guessing.
Miller ready for the snap. Takes the snap. This time it's handed off to Gibbs. Gibbs showing off his speed once again. Taken down at the 11, but there is a flag down on the play.
Probably a holding by the fullback.
We do have a holding call against the Eagles. Huge setback for the Eagles. Definitely will give some extra time in the film room for the Eagles. Let's take another look at this play.
Yes, it's right there. See, he was pulling the jersey, and you just can't do that.
You just got to use your body. You can't wrap your arms around the guy.
If you keep him in the shoulders, it's fine. But once you start yanking on the jersey and you're pulling him away, that's holding.
We're looking at 1st and 20 now for the Eagles. But again, past has shown that the yardage doesn't really matter for the Eagles. They can make anything happen. Miller drops back, lets this one fly. That one connects this time to Jeremy Daggett. Gets a quick couple of yards. Looks at about 6 to 7 yards. And again, that's all they need. Now we're looking at about 2nd and 13.
The Eagles are just milking that clock. Just keep the lead and just keep
That's all
hacking away at it.
When you have a lead of 8, you don't really need to rush around. Just kind of get those little consistent yardage, and that's all you need. And they're doing that quite well right now. Miller lining up for the snap. Drops back. Quick screen, this time to Davey Nitch, but it was dropped. You know, blame the cold weather, blame what you want, but you really can't do that. Let's take another look.
He started to run without catching the ball.
Absolutely.
You saw his head just turn right before he caught the ball.
Absolutely. Catch, then run.
He had nobody on them. He could have easily walked in for a touch.
And because of that, now we're looking at 3rd and 13 for the Eagles.
Just showing silly offensive mistakes by the Eagles.
Eagles line up. Miller ready to take the snap. Fakes the handoff to Gibbs. Picked off. Picked off by the Cougars, and Cougars getting a couple of yards back. This one takes out of bounds at the 36.
Bobby Miller just throws a shoulder into him.
I can't think Miller's too happy about that one. Let's take another look at that. It looked well directed to the receiver, but sometimes Cougars just step right in there.
He had about 4 guys around him,
and as you can see later on, Miller really takes it out on the defender. Well, that would be the first interception for the Eagles today.
2nd turnover overall, but it's better than about 5, like their average is kind of showing.
But hey, that happens. Now the Eagles need to step it up. A handoff to Green. Green refusing to go down again. Gets a couple additional yards. Gets about 6, I would say. Brings it to 2nd and about 4. Green really starting to develop out there. Huge, consistent yards. He's getting the more consistent 6 to 7 yards as opposed to Gibbs. What Gibbs is doing is he's getting his 2 yards and then he's getting his 20-yard gains. Green is just being consistent, really hopefully opening up the passing game for Ekron. Oh, would that be a fumble? I believe so.
Recovered by Morris.
But it's recovered back by Morris.
Gray on the reception and the recovery.
So really a gain of nothing on that play. Just a lot of horsing around for nothing.
You know, we've seen a lot of those plays today where players from both teams get their hands on the ball, get control of it, but they're letting it go. It may be the cold, I'm not sure, but we'll see. Ekron drops back, hands this one off to Green, and Green again fighting his way. This one could be a potential, yes it is, a 1st down. Brings it to the Cougars' 48-yard line.
Green just showing absolute power, just going through those linebackers' blocks or tackles and just powering his feet through there.
Absolutely. Making the Eagles just look like a junior high team.
Definitely.
1st and 10, the Cougars from the 48.
Gives a new start for the Cougars. We're looking at 1st and 10 on the Cougars' 48. Ekron lines up for the snap. And no flag call. Looks like Eagles got back in time. This one handed off for not many, maybe even a loss. But Eagles really starting to focus on that, on their run, on the Cougars' running game. Really starting to stop it. And that's huge because once they can stop that, then that's all the really Cougars are really getting done today. Passing, as you can see, it's just the passing game. Miller totally outperforming Ekron. So really, once you stop the Cougars rushing, you really stop the Cougars. Ekron drops back, fakes the handoff, and this one thrown, but that one was too high. That one was aimed for Patrick Mahoney.
Even if it was a little lower, I believe he was throwing in about double, maybe triple coverage. So not a very smart decision there by the quarterback.
Mahoney actually one of the breakout receivers for Morris, so I'm sure Eagles are putting more pressure on him today. And Eagles successfully do that. Eagles doing a absolutely great job on their defense. We're looking at 3rd and 9 against the Cougars. Ekron hopefully going to make something happen here. Takes the snap, drops back. Takes a sweet time, and this one thrown for a 1st down at the Eagles' 40-yard line. And we're going to try and take a look at that replay again.
Shows like they almost forgot about number 5 out there.
Takes his time, throws a nice low pass for a nice gain of yards. That brings it 1st and 10 on the Eagles' 40-yard line.
That's a mark of a good receiver right there.
Huge.
You see your quarterback's in trouble. He's got nothing going for him. Just try and make something out of nothing.
And they really do that. Nice job by the Cougars. Drops back. This one Handed off to the Cougars' John Scola.
Pennington on the tackle.
And he just pushes his way for a couple extra yards, but refs aren't going to buy that as they take it back a couple extra yards. So it's actually a loss for the Cougars there.
Loss of a yard on the play.
Eagles running game or running defense looking a little bit better here in the second half.
Absolutely, and it is essential that they continue to develop that because that's what really killed them in the first half. We're looking at 3 minutes left in the first half. Score still 21-13 Eagles. Ekron lines up for the snap. Takes the snap. Lets this one fly. One-handed catch by John Scola, a huge receiver today. Brings it all the way to the Eagles' 9-yard line.
That was a beautiful catch.
Randy Moss-like.
With the tackle.
Well, we're going to take another look at that. Beautiful.
Right
Fairly
in
nice,
stride.
fairly nice pass and a beautiful catch by Scola. And that's really, really going to help the Cougars today.
Scola, originally a running back, just makes himself known as a receiver.
Scholl is really doing a great job out there today.
Mager with the tackle.
And we're now looking at what should be 1st and 10 on the Eagles' 7-yard line.
4 yards.
Excuse me, now it's 2nd and 6.
Second and goal. No, I believe it is. Yes. He's in a jumbo package here.
Hands this one off to Green, and Green gets the job done, bringing the Cougars really within reach of the Eagles now. Now the score is 21-19. Now, huge play coming up. Obviously, the Cougars are trying to get a go for the 2. Really needs to develop. Pete, what would you do? Would you run with Green, who's been consistent, but they're starting to stop, or would you try and go with Ekron right now?
I would almost. You have to take Green. He's just on that run right there. He just showed extreme power and just quickness and just found the hole. He went in untouched, and the Minnesota Morris doesn't have a receiver that they can just throw a floater up like Union does for the Eagles.
I absolutely agree with you there. Ekron drops back. Quick throw. Did he get it in? Yes, that one thrown to Garrett Bohannon for a quick 2 points and a tie game with 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Let's take another look at that one.
Totally disproves everything we had just said.
Garrett Bohannon really making it happen there. Make sure he gets his feet in. Beautiful catch by Bohannon. Beautiful placement by Ekron.
It's a whole new ball game now. Now it's 0-0,
A 7-yard
more or less.
Huge drive for the Cougars. Huge drive.
Make sure you're here next Saturday for
It's a points off turnovers right there. And that
Come see the Eagles.
we were talking about that earlier, how
Bible College.
points off maybe an interception or a fumble would just come back and haunt another team. This might be just that play.
Absolutely.
As well as 2
You know, at the start of the second half, Eagles defense really started to look like they're focused, but as it wore on, maybe they got cold, but it looks like they started giving up those. First, it was a dive play to Scola, and then it was just a nice feed in bounds by Bohannon. Really, Ekron's starting to make it happen, but his receivers really giving him a helping hand there.
Yeah, coming back and catching that one, and the other guy using the one-handed catch. I mean, if you have that going for you, the defense can't do anything.
This one brought back by Mark Patnode. Stop. He will not be brought down. Eventually brought down at the 40-yard line.
Tackle made by Pope.
Both teams, when there's kickoffs, both teams are really starting to get good field position. A, because the Eagles really are having a hard time kicking the ball. B, the Eagles are starting to run the ball back, and that's really going to start helping the Eagles. Now what we're looking at is we need Miller to start being consistent like he has been so far. Keep it up with that. And also Gibbs starting to look speedy. Maybe will hopefully bring another touchdown for the Eagles. Gibbs in the backfield. Hands it off to Gibbs. But stuffed down by Morris. That one looked like not anything at all. Still at the 40-yard line. Brings up 2nd and 10.
No gain on the play.
One thing we haven't seen lately is Bobby Miller going to the outside on a bootleg. He got to wonder if that knee's hurting him a little bit.
You know, I tend to see more scrambling from Miller, and I'm not seeing it as much. You have to wonder if the cold's really getting to it.
Or if he's just being more patient and just taking what the defense gives him.
Miller throwing a crazy pass. That one was intended for Union, but just not within Union's reach there.
Miller not completing very many passes in the last 5 downs.
And it is essential that he becomes calm and he starts to develop again. We saw a comfortable Miller in the first half. Now he just needs to stick with that. Eagles bring in Josh Lunding, a huge breakout receiver so far.
Eagles go 4 wide. Now they have to take a timeout.
Had to rush. Looks like Aaron Lynch had to rush out there.
There's 1 second left on the play clock, and that wasn't going to happen for the Eagles.
Lynch, who knows what Lynch was doing, but you saw him running out there at the last minute. We're looking at 21-21 with a little over a minute left in the third quarter.
Tony Oldenburg down on the sideline has a report. Let's go to him right now. Tony.
We're live from the sidelines here as we just got out of the Northwestern defensive huddle. I heard Coach Talley join the group after a few quick minutes of a little bit of yelling and motivation. He talked about getting the hustle back into the defense, stopping the run, cover the pass over the long end, let them take the short stuff, but let's keep everything inside the end zone. And here's the big defense. He came out and made a direct challenge to the defense. You stop them, get the offense to get 6 more points, this game's over in Talley's eyes. He said 6 will win it. Back to you guys in the booth.
Tony really made a great point there. Right now we're seeing both teams really balanced. I see one touchdown really could push either team in the favor.
Bet it could.
Miller starts to scramble. This time dropped, but it could have been a smart move. That one was dropped by Gibbs, but he was covered several yards back. Maybe a smart move by Gibbs to drop that. Let's take another look at that play. As you can see, Gibbs about 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage with number 87 right on him. Could have been a smart move, maybe intentional, I don't know, but either way, really didn't help or not help the Eagles right there.
Just a very poor series for the Eagles offense.
Eagles special team ready. Almost. Not a favorable bounce for the Eagles. This one brought to the Cougars' 32-yard line.
The Eagles all day not getting very many good bounces on their punts and nothing really happening on that end of the field.
And we're looking at 21-21 with a little less than a minute left in the third quarter.
Very tightly fought match here today.
Absolutely. This could prove to be a huge key drive for the Cougars if they start to do good here. Hopefully the Eagles defense is developing enough. Ekron drops back, handed off to Green once again, trying to fight through about 4 Eagles, but this time he's brought down to about the 35-yard line with a gain of about 2. Brings up 2nd and 8 with about 40 seconds left in the third quarter.
I'm looking at the stats here. It shows that the Eagles are surprisingly out-rushing the Minnesota Morris team. Eagles with 135 yards on 32 carries and Morris with 105 yards on 25 carries.
Absolutely. Ekron having just all the time in the world, but that one thrown to a fan in the on the other side of the line there. Obviously well pleased with himself. Eagles still extremely surpassing the Cougars in passing yards with 231 for the Eagles and 144 for the Cougars. About balanced, but Eagles are still having that surprisingly lead on the rushing yards though. Ekron lines up ready for the snap, drops back. This one thrown again to Terrence McCray, breakout receiver today. all the way to the Eagles' 48-yard line for a quick Cougars first down.
That's another third down conversion by the Minnesota Morris team. They've done about 3 in a row, and it's just killing the Eagles defense. It just takes the wind right out of your sails and just takes away all the confidence you have.
Cougars are 6 for 10 on their third down conversions. Huge, huge impact on the game.
Northwestern 21, University of Minnesota Morris 21.
And that would be the end of the third quarter, with the score tied at 21-21. We kind of saw a change of pace that game, that quarter. Eagles defense starting to look a little more struggling, a little more not focused. Cougars, on the other hand, starting to look like they're, all right, we're focused, we're ready to get this play going. And they did a good job of it.
That's right, and I think that interception by Bobby Miller down in the red zone earlier in the quarter might have just destroyed all their morale, because they were just marching right down. Gibbs had a couple of runs for around 20 yards, and then interception just wiped them right out.
Absolutely. Miller, if you notice, after that, Miller starting to throw not such consistent passes. One thing you notice about Miller, when he makes a mistake like that, he really takes it hard on himself. You could see the look of frustration. But, you know, right now we're really looking at which defense can really start putting up that rock wall defense. What do you think, Pete?
Well, and as you see, they're starting to contain Green a little bit better. I mean, their passing is getting better for Morris, but the fact that we're containing Green is really going to help the Eagles.
Absolutely. Green not really on, but not really off. He's off and on right now. Ekron drops back, hands this one off to Green, and this is the on part of Green. Gets about 5 or 6 yards, but there are several flags on the play. And that would be holding against the Cougars. And now we'll put extra time in the film room for the Cougars. You know, you just got to watch for those stupid mistakes. That could have brought almost a first down for the Cougars, but now they're dropped back to their own 41-yard line. Huge drop back, and we're looking at 1st and 20 now for the Cougars.
And we talk about how defenses get worn down. Well, offensive linemen get worn down too, and that might just be a fact of just fatigue that they're needing to hold all the time.
Absolutely. Ekron ready for the snap. Takes it back. This one a quick throw to Green. Green struggling to find his footing, as Tony was talking about earlier today. Brought down at about the 41-yard line.
Well, Tony was also talking to us in the booth earlier about the fact that actually we're going to go to replay. But he was talking earlier about how the field is wet. Well, it's also getting fairly muddy out there, and that's causing players to slip, and it might cause some injuries as we go further on into this game.
Absolutely. It's been sort of a dry day today, but yesterday it just rained all day, really loosening up the field for both teams. Another attempt to Green, but that one was just not thrown correctly by Ekron. And we are looking at 3rd and really long, 22 yards to go. But we're going to go down to the sidelines right now with Tony, who has a quick report on us. Tony, what do you got for us down there, bud? Yes, we're not quite ready for Tony right now. We're looking at 3rd and 22 for the Cougars. Ekron lines up. Puts Green in motion. We're going to be passing this one. Ekron loses his footing and brought down. Huge loss for the Cougars.
It's more of the mud right there, making him slip.
Absolutely. You can really start to see, if you look at the field, you can just see that in the middle, it's really starting to look brown. Really starting to get torn up, and it's really affecting both teams, especially the Cougars. Two out of 3 plays affected by that mud. And that brings out the Cougars special team on the 35. A low snap, but he gets it off. High kick. And they're just going to let this one roll. Favorable bounce for the Cougars, and that brings it to about the Eagles' 33-yard line. All right, and we are at about the Eagles 23. You know, we're starting to see both offenses for Cougars and Eagles are not starting to look as consistent as they were first half.
These next couple of drives could be make or break for both teams.
Absolutely. Miller ready for the snap. Drops back, hands this one off to Gibbs, but Gibbs not getting much again. This one looks like about a 3 or 4 yard loss for the Eagles.
Again, it looked like fullback or lineman or one of the blockers getting in his way, and you just see the fatigue of those guys too, not being able to push upfield as much.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking as the day is starting to go on, temperatures dropping, you know, Gibbs might be slowing down. We're looking at about a little less than 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Score is tied, 21-21. 2nd and 15, Miller drops back. Picked off by Morris. Huge pick off by Morris. That was absolutely essential for Morris. Now, Cougars need to start bringing it on the ground. We're going to take another look at that pick, which is the 2nd interception for Miller today. Huge pick. That pick was brought on by Scott Reeland. Huge, nice job by Reeland.
And it was a poor decision to throw that ball anyway because it looks like he was almost triple covered.
Again, I'm starting to see that he's starting to panic. First half he was comfortable, and ever since he threw that first interception, he's not starting to look as comfortable. He's not feeling comfortable with his own arm, and that's really what he needs to start doing. This one handed off to Green. Green is just refusing to go down, and looks like we have a fumble. We're going to peel people back. Eagles are celebrating, and it is Eagles ball. Huge recovery for the Eagles there.
Well, let's hope Bobby Miller can forget about his interception he just threw and come back just reared and ready to go.
Absolutely. Miller just needs to keep his cool and just really focus here. Huge break for the Eagles there. We were looking at red zone, very possibly a Cougar touchdown, but again, it's those mistakes. Those mistakes can seriously set you back. And we're going to go back to Tony on the sidelines. Tony, what do you got for us, bud?
Right before this next play goes off, I just got done talking to quarterback Bobby Miller. He talked about staying focused during the pickoffs. Northwestern just got an amazing turnover as we saw Pyatt and Brooks come in and make a huge stick, and the ball popped out. And now we're watching Gibbs here from the sidelines go up for a 5-yard gain. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thanks, Tony. We were just talking about that, actually. Miller staying focused even when he's throwing those picks, and he looks like Gibbs is really starting to help the Eagles there. Gets a quick 8-yard run. We're looking at 2nd and 2 on the Eagles 22.
And the fact that they've been switching out running backs all day should give Paul Gibbs some help in that he should still have tons of gas left in his tank.
Absolutely. This one a quick throw. That one was a quick throw to Unen. Unen, a key receiver today.
2 touchdowns,
and that will bring a first down along for the Eagles. 1st and 10 on the 28.
1st and 10, the Eagles from the 28.
And that's exactly what the Eagles need to do. Short gains. Stick with that, and they will score. Miller drops back. Another handoff to Gibbs. Gibbs brought down at the 31. Gibbs doing a fairly decent job on the running game. So far today, he has 139, actually not him, 139 yards total rushing for the Eagles.
But he is wearing down the opposing defense, and once they get, as you've seen throughout the day, he's broke a couple 20, 30-yard runs, and those will just keep getting more consistent.
Absolutely.
2nd and 8 from the 30.
With the help of Gibbs, this is where Miller really needs to start opening it up for them. And that's exactly what he does. Quick pass there to Josh Lundeen. Lundeen catching a couple short passes today, helping it to move along.
Miller spreading the targets around. Giving everybody pretty much a chance to catch a ball here.
And we're looking at 3rd and about 3 now. Eagles 3rd down, we're at 8 for 14. So they're doing a fairly good job on 3rd downs.
Yeah, anytime you're over 50% on 3rd downs, you're doing a pretty darn good job.
Absolutely. And what do we have down here? Timeout by Northwestern. That would be their 2nd of the half. Not a great idea to have 2 timeouts used.
When you don't have very many turnovers at the end of the game, in a game like this where it's very close, it might come back to hurt you a little bit.
Absolutely. And what we're really looking at, though, is Miller focusing and not making those mistakes. He's gotten 2 new lives right now, and he really needs to start focusing up there.
Yeah, hopefully his hands are still warm so he can keep making those consistent short passes. And you got to wonder if his legs aren't bothering him, because usually he won't stand back there and throw a pick. Usually he'll try and run around the defense.
Absolutely. But I also think that the scrambling can sometimes even lead to more picks. And I think with his knee slightly bothering him, I think it forces him to kind of just stick back, focus on that passing game, and he needs to stick with that. Gibbs brought out of this one.
One thing I'm surprised is they're not using the play action with Gibbs. I don't know if their offensive line is getting worn down or what, but
Beautiful catch by Ben Unen. This one all the way to the Cougars' 45-yard line. Huge gain for the Eagles. And that's exactly what Miller needs to do. He's focusing up. He's not letting those interceptions bother him, but he's just focusing, and huge, huge gain. And we're going to take another look at that huge play. Miller drops back. Huge, nice low pass. Nice reach by Unen. That's exactly what the Eagles need today. Unen doing a superb job today. Handed off to Gibbs. Gibbs with a spin, which got him about another yard, brought to the Cougars' 46-yard line.
All these juniors and seniors really stepping up and making the leadership roles.
Absolutely. I think what we're going to be looking at now is Miller starting to focus on that passing game. Gibbs doing a nice job, but Miller starting to look more comfortable. And this one, that one can really frustrate a quarterback. That one was dropped by Jeremy Daggett. Those kinds of plays really frustrate a quarterback.
Yeah, if you get your hands on the ball and you're a receiver, you should more than likely catch it. And when you drop like that, you don't really have an excuse.
Absolutely. Miller already struggling after those 2 interceptions. When he gets a good pass like that off, it's only going to frustrate him more. The receivers, this is the point where they really need to step it up and support their quarterback. Eagles line up again. Miller ready to take the snap, drops back. This one unleashed for Unen again. This is at the 10. This is a touchdown for the Eagles. Another 6 for the Eagles. Unen, a huge gain, huge.
Unen with the hat trick with his 3rd touchdown of the day.
Unen absolutely stellar. We're going to take another look at that huge play. Miller drops back. Another, that is a Unen pass today. That's all Unen's caught, and it was just perfect for Unen.
You saw the relaxation in Miller's eyes, and he had that one. He was absolutely confident of it.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you. The only one really to stop that one was Leonard Mathis, but wasn't quite close enough. This one is an extra point good for the Eagles, bringing them 28-21 with a little over 9 minutes left in the game. Huge, huge play by Unen. Unen really helping along the Eagles today, as well as Miller. Miller really setting them up for those great catches.
And I believe these fans will be more excited, except they just look too cold. I think they'd have to clap to make their hands warmer or something.
We're looking at about the 5th layer they're putting on right now. Absolutely freezing out there, and the wind gust really isn't helping.
Feels more like January than second week of October.
Although we are in Minnesota, so this is probably sunscreen weather for us.
Got deep to receive the kick for Morris.
Now this is where Eagles need to start putting their kick placements in good position. Cougars have every time, or nearly every time, gotten good position. Really need to focus on a good kick here. And it's away. Another low kick. Oh, this couldn't go out. Nope. Fumble. Eagles could have this one. And are we seeing a sign from the ref? Yes, Eagles ball. Huge turnover by the Cougars there.
That might have just been the hard ball once again. And like you saw one of our players earlier when the ball was kicked like that on the kickoff and he just let it go. Maybe Minnesota Morris should have done the same thing.
Absolutely.
It looked like it was going out of bounds and he would have had a free play at about the 40-yard line.
That one turned from a terrible Eagles kick to a great Eagles position. Eagles are now looking at about the 34-yard line. Cougars 34. We could look at a huge Eagles lead right now. Eagles are up by 7. Let's see if they can continue that lead. This one handed off, but not fumbled by the Eagles, and Morris definitely recovered that one. Definitely not what the Eagles needed. Eagles really wanted to further their lead, but let's take another look at that fumble.
Just not a good handoff at all on this
Just
one.
didn't look like the connection between Gibbs and Miller that we're used to. Falls on that one. Tighter.
Just a bad handoff.
And that happens. Sometimes, like, the quarterback tries to not make direct contact with the running back so that he can kind of fool him, but sometimes you just got to watch him out of the corner of your eye. Ekron ready for the snap. Drops back. Takes his time again, but a terrible throw. That one was intended for Donnie Green, their running back.
And right now you're seeing Minnesota Morris's quarterback getting hit and knocked down a lot. That could be wearing on him at this point of the game.
Absolutely. Ekron really needs to start focusing. He's not really being consistent like the Ekron we're used to, but Green's really helping him out. Let's see. They'll probably hand this one off to Green, would be my guess. But it's not. Drops back. This one thrown, but again, that mud really playing a huge factor today.
It almost looked like it was tipped by the left defensive end. But nonetheless, it's third down.
3rd and 10. Morris is 6 for 11, so they are better than half for their third down conversions, but we'll see about this one. Eagles with that steady 7-point lead. 3rd and 10 on the Cougars' 32-yard line. Ekron drops back. Takes more time, but a sack brought on by the Eagles. Huge takedown. That will bring up 4th and long for the Cougars.
So none of these turnovers really making much of a difference as we look at this fumble, or sack.
Ekron just looking like he's just too comfortable back there. You gotta get rid of the ball early.
The Eagles' defensive line just looking hungry.
And we have the Cougars special teams out there to kick it away with a little over 8 minutes to go. Fairly decent punt. Oh, and that one was touched by the Cougars. We're looking at Eagles ball at about the 45-yard line. Eagles are in the lead 28-21 with a little under 8 minutes to go. Eagles really, really need to focus here and hopefully further that lead. Miller ready for the snap. Gibbs lined up in the backfield. Miller takes the snap. Quick toss to Union, but that one was absolutely swatted. This time that one was swatted by Leonard Mathis.
And he's lucky it was just swatted because that guy had so much speed going behind him. He could have taken that one back for a score.
Absolutely. Union absolutely could have brought that one for huge yardage.
It's weird to see the Eagles, a typically run-based team, coming out with 3 and 4 wide receiver packages.
2nd and 10 from the 45. Handoff goes to Gibbs.
That one was another handoff to Gibbs for another quick short gain. That would bring up 3rd down.
Gain of 3 yards on the play.
3rd and 7 we're looking at.
A lot of the Eagles' second stringers looking ridiculous with these crazy coats on right now.
Miller drops back, unleashes this one. Morris, picked off by Morris. Huge, huge turnover. That will bring along the 3rd interception for Miller. Miller looking really frustrated as he comes off the field. Let's take another look at that 3rd interception. That one way too high. Miller really can't throw them up that high. But that's what Union's been catching, but that one, beautiful coverage that time by Leonard Mathis. Mathis really starting to focus up on the defense.
But when you look at it, that was like a 3rd and 7 play at about the 45 of Northwestern, and even if they didn't, even if that was a busted play, it would have been a punting situation. So it's really not that bad of an interception to take.
Absolutely. Ekron takes this one back, handed off to Green. Green showing great momentum. Gets about a 5-yard gain there, bringing up 2nd and 5.
Pennington and Petnode on the tackle of Green.
Green just playing a huge factor for the Cougars today. Eagles are being able to stop him off and on, but that was just not one of those stops.
2nd and 5 from the 24.
Ekron ready for another snap. Green again in the backfield. Green again takes the, and he takes it all the way to the 31-yard line. That will bring along a 1st down for the Cougars. That's what the Cougars need to do, just those quick, short, steady gains. Forget these long passes that Ekron's taking his time to look for. Get those short ones out because the Eagles are not ready to stop those.
Yeah, it's showing like a little bit of a turnaround for the Cougar offense here, running-wise. But the referees are looking fairly lenient on these holding calls. I'm seeing quite a bit of holding going on down there. Maybe it's not, and I'm not a football official, but it's looking like they're just letting them play.
Green showing off his speed. This one brought to about the 35 for another 5-yard gain. Green just steady on those 5-yard gains. And that is just going to slowly break apart the Eagles' defense.
Looking at the stats here, each team is averaging around 5 or 6 yards a play, so just pretty standard to see a 5-yard run, 5-yard pass on all these plays.
Absolutely. And we're looking at 2nd and 6 on the Cougars' own 35-yard line with a little under 6 left in the half. With 28-21, Eagles lead. You got to wonder now, no matter what happens with the Cougars, how is Miller going to react after that 3rd interception? Ekron drops back, hands this one off to Green. Green finds his hole, breaks through all the way to about the 46-yard line. A quick Cougar 1st down.
I think going back to what you're talking about, the interception, I think it all depends on if the Cougars score here. Because if they score, then it's, well, now I have to go back out and try and win this game by myself.
Absolutely.
Whereas if they don't score, we just got to hold on. It's easier to hold on than to try and come back for a win.
Absolutely agree with you there. Miller's starting to show that he's not calm when he needs to be. He's not sticking with it, and he really needs to watch that. Ekron drops back, again taking his time. This one, it is successful. That one was thrown to John Shola. Huge gain for Morris. Shola, a huge receiver for Morris so far this game. Huge.
15-yard gain on the play.
Ironic to see a leading receiver for a team be their running back, but whatever works.
And let's take another look at that pass. Ekron lets this one fly after taking his Lottie time.
Had all day to throw that right in the middle.
Shola using all 6 feet of him there. Handoff to Green here, but he is stuffed at the Eagles' 40-yard line. This will bring on about the 2nd and 8. Excuse me, second and 12. Eagles really starting to stop Green. Green still has those breakout runs like we just saw not too long ago, but they're really starting to not be so consistent as they were first half. 2nd and 11 from the 40. Ekron ready for the snap. Drops back, lets this one fly, this time to Garrett Bohannon. And he pushes his way, falls forward for a gain of about 6.
Bohannon had nobody on him. The Eagles' corner just absolutely forgot about him.
Great catch by Bohannon. Ekron's starting to look like he's a little more focused, but still he's got to get that pass off sooner.
This is a big down right here for the Eagles.
3rd and 5 at the 34. Drops back, hands off, but flag down on the play. That's got to be a disappointment to Morris. False start against Morris. That, go ahead.
Now you go from using the run for a easy 5-yard run usually to you don't know what you got to do now. It's either use the pass is right down the middle have been working pretty well for Morris, but you just got to wonder.
Absolutely. We're looking at 3rd and 10 now. Could have been a huge position for the Cougars, but now it's just a big if. Ekron drops back, hands it off to Green. Green refusing to go down, but eventually brought down by about 6 jerseys that time. That one not enough, about a 5-yard gain. Now the question is a little over 3. Do you go for it?
Oh, I think you do, because the Eagles on their drives have been just showing that they're just taking clock time. I mean, you see the time of possessions 30 minutes to about 22. And if you can chew up a lot of clock, and it does look like they're going for it.
3 minutes left in the game. 4th and 6. Huge drive for the Cougars right now. Ekron ready, takes the snap. And it is picked by the Eagles. Huge interception by the Eagles. Absolutely what the Eagles need. We're going to take another look at that. Ekron looked like he just wasn't ready for that one.
He tried to force that one. I just think he held on to it too much.
He's been doing that all day. He's just not getting it off when he needs to.
He released it just a little too late if you look at his wrist action.
You see, even if that wasn't picked, that would have probably been at the feet of the nearest receiver, and that just really set back the Cougars. We're looking at 2 minutes and 50 seconds left in the game.
Morris still in good shape, though. They still have 3 timeouts left. So first downs are imperative for the Eagles.
Miller takes the snap, hands it off to Surprise Gibbs. Gibbs gets to about the 32 for about a 6-yard gain. And Morris will indeed use their first timeout. Eagles are just going to continue to run the ball here. And with Gibbs, it's not a guarantee that Morris is going to stop him. Gibbs could very well get the first down.
And if they look like they're coming in for the run, you can always throw a little screen pass over, and you're going to have a decent run if the guy catches it.
Absolutely. 2nd and 5.
Thank you for supporting Northwestern.
And And we're looking at 2nd and 5 on the 32 for the Eagles. These next 2 plays, huge for the Eagles. Now, we probably know that the Eagles are going to run. Morris needs to settle down and focus on stopping that run if they want a chance in this. A loss here would be huge for the Cougars. Even if Gibbs can get 1 to 2 yards, that will be a huge gain for the Eagles. 2nd and 5 from the 32. Gibbs gets the handoff, and that one was fumbled. I do not know who got that one. Morris showing some celebration, peeling back the body, seeing who's got it. And looks like Morris gets this one. Huge turnover. Huge turnover. This could be exactly what the Cougars need. And we're going to take another look at that fumble. Miller hands this one off. Now you see how that ball's not tucked away. It's still just open for a defender to just poke it through. You are a running back. You're running the ball. You hold on to that ball with all your might, especially when all you're focusing on is draining the clock.
Yeah, especially when it's just power. You just 2 hands on the ball.
Green, huge run. Gets pushed out at about the Eagles' 18-yard line. Absolute huge run for the Cougars. Green absolutely, really carrying the load for the Cougars so far.
Yeah, I believe if they didn't have Green in there, this game would be way out of hand for the Cougars.
And they're not going to have him next year. What the rumor has anyway. We're looking at 2.5 minutes left in the game. 1st and 10 on the 20. Another handoff to Green. This time gets another steady gain to about the 13 to 14 yard line.
Got to be wondering where those stops we had earlier on Green wire right now.
You know what I'm thinking the Eagles, they're starting to get scared. They're starting to think, oh no, we may actually have a tie. We may actually go into overtime. Who knows what could happen right now. This one handed off to Green again. Green gets enough, and that is a Morris touchdown. Now the question is, can Morris get that extra point? I've seen way too many extra points botched to take advantage of this extra point.
Yeah, especially since they missed it on their 2nd touchdown conversion.
Absolutely. You know, in this point, I can't help but think back to the Steelers playoff game last year. Pittsburgh made a huge comeback, and then they botched the extra point to lose the game.
Definitely.
This one is blocked. Eagles recover the block. Huge block, and that probably did lose the game for the Cougars. Again, we've been saying all game, extra points can win and lose the game. This could have just lost the game for the Cougars.
Yeah, it's just that 1 point right there. It's looking huge.
We're going to take another look at that block, see exactly what happened.
It's a high snap to begin with.
Looked like Eagles got a hand on that one. Huge block.
And when kicking the ball, when you're a kicker, a field goal kicker, for extra points, you just want to chip it up. Make sure nobody blocks it. An angle like that on a kick should only be used when the ball's when it's like a 40 to 50 yard field goal.
Now the game is not completely out of reach for Morris. They do have, I believe, two timeouts left with a minute 48 left. This is not out of reach for the Cougars yet.
And it all depends on whether they recover this onside kick or not. Which, if they had any football smarts, they would probably do.
And I'm not sure the Eagles have a whole lot of experience with onside kicks, but we'll see. Anything can really happen with this game.
They've got the receiving package in for the onside kick. Not quite sure why Union is way back there because he's one of the best receivers.
Well, you never know what might happen. You got to keep someone back there. And the onside kick is off. Did that go 10 yards? I am not seeing a play a flag. That is Cougars. What do we got? Are they going to call it? I'm not seeing a signal from the referees.
It hit a Cougar.
Ball is touched by the Cougars.
Apparently,
10 yards.
let's take another look at this replay real quick.
It's on the right side.
What we're hearing is that it actually touched a Cougar right there. Huge setback for the Cougars, huge. But you know, it's hard. It's hard for the kicking team on a situation like that because you can't keep your eye back on where the ball is coming from.
Ball touched by the Cougars before it traveled 10 yards.
And that'll bring the Cougars back another 10 yards.
First down.
Great field position for the Eagles right now.
Absolutely. If they get a couple of yards, they could almost be in field goal range, but not that that would really matter.
Cougars still have 2 timeouts left, though.
And a quick struggle for Miller to get it across.
Miller, the ball carrier.
Miller gets about 3 or 4 yards there.
Timeout of this second half.
It's not a bad play call.
Fans, thank you for attending today. Both from
And
Morris and Northwestern.
we're looking at a minute 42 left in the game.
With a win today, this would put the Northwestern College Eagles.
We have Tony down on the sidelines. Tony, what do you got for us down there?
Hey, welcome back to the sidelines. Here's a fourth quarter recap for you. Eagles now with a minute 42 left in the game lead 28-27. Fourth quarter recap. 9 total turnovers in the fourth quarter alone. 5 for the Eagles, 4 for Morris. Last big drive for Morris as they punch the ball in to go down 1 point, but the blocked field goal might be the biggest play of the Eagles season so far. And as we just saw just a few seconds ago, an onside kick was retouched by the kicker before it went 10 yards, making the play completely illegal. Eagles ball with a minute 42. Let's see, second down here with a handoff to Gibbs, and he's stuck big time. Eagles just need to pick up a couple first downs, and this game is over. Eagles lead right now 28-27, and that's a report from the sidelines. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Tony. Again, we go back like that missed extra point. Huge, huge extra point. And you can't take advantage of it, and that Morris just showed that. We're looking at 3rd and 12.
And I believe Morris is out of timeout, so even a blown running play right here will put the clock at about 1 minute, and then you punt it. And Morris has got a lot of ground to make up in about a minute.
You do not know what could happen right here. This is really anyone's game right now.
It has to be a clean handoff, no turnovers, no.
We're looking at either a first down or a punt. There's really this is out of college field goal range. Even if they got 11 yards, which would be 1 under a fourth or a first down, this is out of field goal. So it's either first down or we're punting it away. Miller ready to throw this, but he is a scramble and thrown away. That one was intended for Aaron Lynch. Almost looked like a hook shot for Miller. That was an absolutely stupid play by Miller.
I'm not sure why they chose to pass instead of run. Why would you pass the ball on that play?
I guess they just don't want to give Morris that minute. But now they give him about a minute 30, and now they're going to have to kick it away.
But when you look at it, all Morris has been able to do today is run the ball, and running the ball takes time off the clock. So,
if I would have been Miller, I would have stopped and just sat down right there. It would have kept the clock going, and they could have punted, which they just did. Morris getting some nice yardage, but not enough. This gets to about the 20-yard line with a minute 18 left. Still in reach for the Cougars. You never know.
So they got to go 80 yards in about 80 seconds.
But as we've seen throughout this whole game, nothing is impossible for either team.
However, if you would have run that ball, it would be about 48 seconds left instead of 1:18. So
First and 10, the Cougars start
complete waste.
22.
Ekron lines up in the shotgun, one of the first shotguns I've seen all game.
5 wide.
Unleashes. And, but the flag is down. Looks like this one is going to be pass interference. I'm not so sure about that call there. It looked like ball and player met at about the same time.
Definitely.
And we're going to take another look at that, actually. Ekron just lets this fly. Anyone's ball. And really, Terrence McCray really had a good chance on this, but we'll see what touches what first.
He had it.
I don't know if that's an
questionable.
interference. It looked like that was touched and then hit. I bet Morris wishes they had instant replay right now. I'd be bringing that one under review, but that's what happens in college football. Now we're looking at 1st and 10 on the 37. Ekron drops back. Another short gain. Get 10, pulls that one in. Fumble. Eagles are showing celebration.
The game is over.
Eagles ball, game is over. Huge fumble. Garrett Bohannon there dropped that one.
That's happened more times than not that a turnover has decided the game. Looking back at the homecoming game where the interception totally clinched it for the Eagles. We have a fumble recovery right here.
Dan Pazurek with the fumble recovery for your Eagles.
Dan Pazurek got that one. Let's take another look at that fumble. As you can see on this play, Garrett Bohannon does a nice job of getting his hand on it and tries to haul it in. Just as he hauls it in, though,
He gets nailed.
boom, right there. That's all it took. Huge upset for Morris.
This moves Northwestern into 4-1 in the UMAC to a solid second place in the division.
Miller down for a 1-yard loss.
Next week, the Eagles are going to be going up against Maranatha Baptist. Should be a slightly easier game than today, but
That will be football frenzy weekend here at Northwestern.
and then the week after that, Eagles are traveling to the Metrodome for UMAC Dome Day.
We'll have both those games here on CTV.
And that final knee will bring the end. Final score of today's game, Eagles 28, Morris 27. Huge game. Both teams made their fair share of mistakes, but it was the final 2 mistakes that Morris made that broke them. First mistake, missing that extra point. Second mistake, that fumble. It looked like Garrett Bohannon had the ball, and he should have just held onto it. But you know what? Sometimes things like that happen, and you're not focused. You drop the ball, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was a great game, tightly fought on both sides. Like we were talking about earlier. That turnovers would come and they would win the game for whoever got the last one. And it seems to me that the Eagles did and just proved our point.
Absolutely. Eagles just absolutely finished huge. 158 rushing yards, 305 passing yards. Huge offense by the Eagles today.
Over 450 yards of offense. That's amazing.
And it was just a steady offense. There were a couple breakout plays between Miller and Union, and that really helped them along. But really, what helped them was just a steady punch that each team that the Eagles had.
Yeah, being confident in the pocket, being confident in the air, just.
And looks like we have an interview down on the field with Coach Talley. Tony, are you ready for us yet?
Hey, we're here live with Coach Talley. Coach, fantastic game. 10 turnovers in the fourth quarter alone. How's that feel for you?
Yeah, well, it was an exciting game. I guess you know, both halves were quite different. The first half, a lot of offense and very good play on both sides of the football. And I don't know, roller coaster ride in the second half. So
Absolutely. A game like this puts definitely, I mean, your faith to the test, your coaching staff to the test. What really stuck with your defense? I mean, your offense got the ball, turned it over. Their offense got the ball. I mean, it was basically the uphill roller coaster the whole time. What do you think was the play that actually got you guys over the edge to finally finish it off?
boy, I don't know. There was a lot of plays. So it's kind of hard to pick one because it seemed like every time we get the ball back, we'd have to go back out and play defense. So I don't know right now until I look at the film. But really, you know, the good Lord, He knows what He's doing. And if we just keep playing it for Him, it's not always going to come out on top of the scoreboard, but a lot of times it will. You know, if we just get our kids to play with their technique. That's how we worship the Lord, play technique.
Absolutely.
So,
Ben Yonan, first half, 3 TDs. What do you think?
awesome. It was just fun to watch he and Bobby connect, 2 seniors. They have a great day like this at the home field. I'm very proud of them.
Thanks, Coach. Have a great day. Take care.
Great point made by Coach Talley there. A huge difference between the first and second half. First half, it looked like both teams were kind of balanced, but second half, it was just mistake, mistake, mistake. What do you think, Pete?
Well, Minnesota Morris made the last mistake, and that was just absolutely costly. And Eagles just kept putting pressure and just hit, and turned out to be victorious for the Eagles.
And even things that you take advantage of, extra points, that's really what made and broke the game.
Yes, it did.
Well, looks like the final score here today, 28-27. I'm Nate Strawman.
And I'm Peter Anderson.
And this is Eagles football. Thanks for watching.